I figure out the microphone. How's everybody doing? Good. A little about me, since you asked. 33, divorced. I like long walks on the beach with my therapist. So I'm from Winnipeg, and it's cold in Winnipeg, and I think I may have gotten married for the wrong reasons. You know, some girls get married for money, some for stability. I got married for body heat. I think it gets cold here. This is tropical compared to the prairies. Here you see a guy with a little belly fat, a little back hair, and you're like, ooh. You see that same guy out west? You're like, fuck yeah. Insulation. You want to lock that shit down. I married a 300-pounder. It was like winning the jackpot. Then we moved to Montreal, and I'm like, fuck, it's not that cold here. So we got a divorce. Which worked fine until the Arctic freeze this winter. Then I'm like, maybe we should work things out. Recently decided to get back into the dating scene, but I haven't been really single since I was like 17. I don't even know if the same pickup lines I used in high school still apply. Hey, do you want a hand job under the bleachers? Might lose something at 33, I'm not sure. Who are we kidding? That one works every time. Gets me in trouble with parents, though. Anyone else newly divorced here? Big D, who's in the club? You? You? Yeah? No, just me, eh? It's cool. You told me 50% of marriages end in divorce. Somehow we got 100% of the ones that actually worked out here tonight. Secret to a happy marriage is date night at the Wiggle Room. Genius. You guys are missing out. So you know what's awesome about dating in your 30s? No, really, I'd love to know, because so far it's shit. It's like trying to find something on the clearance rack at Sears. All the good stuff, long gone. Only stuff left on the market's either been returned by its first owner, it's damaged, or its zipper won't stay up. You know what, I am seeing a new guy right now. He's really cute, tall, potentially underage. I don't actually want to know how old he is, so I just try to avoid taking him anywhere he might get asked for ID. Not sure if it's a red flag. He was doing long division on the kitchen table last night. I mean, any man who can whip out a protractor on request is obviously someone I want to get to know better. And I do get a deal on the kids menu at most restaurants, so that's a perk. I mean, times are tight. And if we ever need to spice things up a little, you know, role playing. Well, now instead of me wearing a schoolgirl outfit, he just comes over after class. And even if he might not be legal yet, he is already way better than the last guy I dated. Like, at first, this guy was perfect. Money, muscles, French. You're in Montreal, I gotta date a French guy, right? At least once. It's like buying the t-shirt. At first, even his 3 kids didn't freak me out. I just picked my favorite and didn't talk to the other 2. Which is, I think, how you're supposed to parent. And it wasn't that hard not to talk to them, since the kids didn't speak a word of fucking English. Not a word. My French is pretty spectacular, so we'd have a lot of conversations where I'd be like, est-ce que tu veux jouer avec moi? And they'd be like, aw, Daddy's dating a retard. Eventually, though, I had to let him go, and not because I couldn't communicate with the children. It actually worked out great. Turns out I fucking hate kids. But I let him go because of 2 words. Indoor scarf. Like, I'm from Winnipeg. We wear scarves, right? To prevent frostbite. When it's a mauve pashmina and he's wearing it sitting on the living room sofa drinking a Perrier, while the rest of us are in sweatpants chugging Bud Light, there's a problem. So this Christmas he decided he wanted to meet my family, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. But he's like, it will be great. The parents, they love me. Apologize to any Francos in the room for making him sound like Pepe Le Pew. So he flies into Winnipeg, family comes over, he walks downstairs to meet everyone, and I see in horror he's wearing like a fashion scarf, like a scarfette. It just happened to match his watch and his loafers. Because Montreal men, they know how to dress, right? Stylish devils. The thing is, you need to know your audience if you're going to show up somewhere looking like you're straight off a GQ cover shoot. And for the record, Winnipeg, not that audience. My redneck cousin's sitting there in a wife beater. Got a barbecue stain. 3 teeth. They're all afraid of each other. He pulls me aside and he's like, why is he wearing a scarf indoors? It's cold. Not sure why my cousin's from the south in this story, but we'll go with it. Because in Winnipeg, wearing an indoor scarf is like wearing indoor earmuffs, right? It doesn't happen. So my mom starts cranking the heat every 5 minutes, thinking he must be freezing. We end up sitting there in this awkward inferno of hell, the heat's so high. My mom insulted he won't take off his outdoor gear and stay a while, and my new date wondering why people in Winnipeg keep their houses so fucking hot. It's always funny going back home. I visit my mom, see the old house. It's like taking a step back in time. And I don't mean because of some sort of childhood nostalgia. I mean because none of her shit's been updated since 1963. It's like I'm on an episode of Quantum Leap. Like growing up, we had this one wall in the basement, and it was huge, and it looked bigger because it was completely covered in mirrors. Anyone have one of those? A mirror wall? Yeah? Yeah. Like floor to ceiling, shiny, tacky as hell miroirs, right? Like, unless your weekend activities involve cocaine and orgies, neither of which I think my mom was that into when she'd invite the ladies over for book club. Unless maybe she was, in which case, best book club ever. But otherwise, there's no real reason to devote an entire wall to just mirrors, because there's this new thing now called paint. Put it on your wall, looks nice, and doesn't give off the impression to guests that you're running a sex club in your basement. How about the rotary phone? Anybody have one of those puppies? Growing up, yeah, and then let me guess, your parents probably evolved with technology, and eventually you got a real phone, right? Not my mom. You know how many hours of my childhood were wasted going... And then you'd space out for like half a second, but it would be just long enough to make you forget what number you were at, sometimes even who you were calling. So finally you just decide to hang up. Fuck it, you didn't need to talk to them anyways. Like, I remember as a kid sometimes choosing my friends based solely on their phone numbers. If someone had too many 8s and 9s, I'd have to pull them aside and say, listen, Sally, you're great, but I got a rotary phone at home, it's just not going to work out. So armed with this information, you can imagine how well my mother would take the news when I called her to tell her about getting my first camera phone. I remember calling her up, and I'm, Ma, it's a camera and it's a phone, isn't that cool? She gets all quiet, and she's like, wait, you've got a camera inside your telephone? You can almost hear her mind blowing. And I'm like, yeah, you can take a picture and you can continue your conversation. Isn't that cool? And the line goes dead. And I'm like, Ma? Nothing. Hello? Silence. Then I hear this frantic whisper. I'm about to hang up, right? And wait for her to call back. Maybe take a quick nap since I know it'll take another 5 minutes for her to dial my number on the rotary phone. When I hear her little voice pop out of the darkness as she says, you can see me. And I'm like, pardon? And she goes, with your camera inside your telephone, you can see me. And in my head, I'm like, is this really happening? Like, did my mom really just reach Sarah Palin status of best statements ever? But I'm trying to be patient, so I'm like, no, Ma, that's not how it goes. You can almost see her looking into the receiver of a rotary phone, wondering how I was achieving this magical feat. And I say you could almost see her, right? Because of course I couldn't actually see her, because I'm not fucking magic. And then she loses it. She says, but honey, I just got out of the shower and I didn't have time to grab a towel. I'm so embarrassed. She pauses, but how do I look? I just started this new diet. I think it's really working. Guaranteed she's moving the phone to what she thinks is her good side. I mean, she's pushing 70, right? So at this point, she'd be lucky to have a side at all. It's really more of an oval type shape. And by now I'm so tired from tech talk with Linda that I don't even have the energy to explain to her that's not how technology fucking works. So finally I just say, yeah, Ma, you look great. I said, why don't you go clean those Windex the mirrors while I go find one of these cocaine book clubs to help me forget this conversation ever happened. Thanks very much, guys. You're doing great.